All right, I am back with another Destiny 2 video now that we've started Revenant Act 2 here after 6 long weeks. Could talk about story distribution another time, but we will mainly focus today on Tomb of Elders, which is the new activity that was previewed before this and introduced now. I don't think it's worth really discussing the story stuff. I don't like it. All we essentially got this time around was Nezarec is making Mithrax an asshole, and somehow the only person that can help us stop Fikrul now is Aramis, doing yet another redemption arc for a former villain. I really hope things play out differently than the way they appear to be, but yeah. Short seasonal stuff, you gotta do like 2 runs of Tomb and talk to a bunch of people, and then you're done. As for Tomb itself, this seems to me like they keep introducing these activities where they're very much going to put them in whatever that new featured activity thing is that's coming next year with Frontiers, where they kind of rotate in and out different activities to be like the featured ones for a given updates. They've already listed like the Coil will be in there, Onslaught will be in there, Gambit will not be in there, and then obviously this feels like something that will be in there. This is a reprisal of Prison of Elders. It certainly shares a lot of elements in terms of its format. Its geometry is significantly changed. Like, yeah, you can definitely see old parts of, the old setup there from D1, and they have, ported a lot of that over, but it very much feels like a new activity. It in no way feels like they simply clone stamped, the old thing and threw some new enemies in there. I think they did a very good job with this. The closest comparison that we're all making to this and that Bungie wanted to make to this is the Coil, which is a roguelike-ish type thing where things get progressively harder as you go, and you do these loops and you get chests, and in the end you get like the big kahuna super chest. If you complete all the waves, you have limited revives. You can earn revives by killing model prisoners in this, which are yellow bars that are not especially tanky, but you just sort of have to find them and kill them in the middle of combat. Enemy density here is usually pretty intense, and I'm not even at 220, which is like the minimum. I'm at like 215, 216 for most of the stuff, because I have not remotely cared about a pinnacle grind in 2 episodes here. So it things can hit a little bit hard, but it's certainly doable. It also kind of depends on your team and how interested they are in actually completing objectives and not doing suicide runs. I'm not really one to speak, considering I've blown myself with a grenade launcher many times over this grenade launcher focused season. I think it's a cool activity because you can kind of experiment with different builds and what you think is going to be best here. I don't know if I've mostly just pushed forward with stasis, and because it's kind of a stasis season, but I think there's a lot of things I could do well here. I think I'm going to try Prismatic Titan next, and just kind of branch out from there. The way this works is there is a main objective, which is usually going to be... They're not all identical. I mean, one is... They're actually kind of diverse. It's like one is blow up a bunch of Cabal incinerators and then throw a bunch of explosives at a plane, and then the plane blows up, and then there's a Scion pilot you have to kill. There's this kind of convoluted hive one where you gotta like kill one is just like you have to kill a fire team of Lucent Hive, which they can be no joke, but then there's another one where like the big axe guy from Festival of the Lost, Haunted, whatever it used to be called, comes up and starts whacking you. You have to kill him, and then you take a buff from him, and then you kill a bunch of crystals. So it is more than just like show up and kill a boss. There are definitely mechanics here, and then on top of that, they will periodically introduce like some sort of warden pleasing extra challenge where they want you, like, they can be really easy. It's like get ability kills or get special weapon kills, or it's something like turn off the poison gas vents on the floor that will choke you to death slowly as enemies continue to fire at you. So there's sort of a range of difficulty there, and I'm still like fully... So what I know at baseline about the system is that if you have Warden's Favor, if you complete these things, you do not get quote-unquote punished with kind of interim sections that kind of make you have to regain Warden's Favor. So like if you don't do the things and the Warden hates you, you might have to do like an extra sequence where like an enemy's coming out of a cryopod and you have to kill them, and like it's kind of a time waster. And in order to get through this fast, you need to perform really well, complete these optional objectives. It's certainly a nice change from Onslaught, where there was quite literally no way to go faster given all the timers and things like that. So it's nice here to have a way to go quickly here, to skip segments that are kind of unnecessary, but a way to redeem yourself if you kind of screw stuff up too. I think one thing this really does better than the coil are the in-between traversal sections. These are essentially just like a little mini game challenge to go between the arenas, where sometimes it can be do this as fast as you can. Sometimes it's like kill every enemy in this hallway. Sometimes it's kill one big enemy in this hallway. And maybe they don't need to exist, but they're fine. They seem less superfluous than the trap ones in the coil, which were super annoying. And then even something like Onslaught, original Onslaught did this worse with like the Spark Runner thing. The new one is okay with the Revenant guys, but it adds a lot more time. Here, I think they recognize that people don't really love in between segments, but they still wanted to extend activity time out a little bit, so no one's blowing through this as fast as humanly possible. Pleasing the warden, whatever, not getting any of the interim segments. I think I was doing this in maybe 45 minutes with a group who knew what they're doing. I've certainly failed a few times. My most harrowing adventure was when my teammates all decided to quit and literally the last boss level. So I spent my time barely staying alive with no revives left. 2 revives left. And then they loaded in 2 people dead. And then I revived them. And then we had no revives left. And they were able to help me kill the boss. So that was harrowing. Please don't leave during this. It is very annoying, and it takes forever to replace people. So that was not amazing. Well, it was kind of clutch in the end, and I did enjoy that. I think all of this is very well designed. I think the worst part of this is not like the objectives, the enemies. Some of the modifiers are just not good. Like, they have 2 of the most annoying modifiers, which are Grounded and Famine, where it's just like, don't jump or you're not going to have that much ammo. And it's like, those aren't fun. The other ones are like fine. It's like, one is like increase melee damage for enemies, and one is like enemies slow you for melee damage. And it's like, okay. Counterfeit used to be a really annoying one, but they nerfed it into the ground to the point where like you barely even know it exists. I don't think any of these modifiers are terribly compelling, and at worst they are just extremely annoying. I think Bungie's had modifier issues for a long time now, and they've recently tried to experiment with them, but I would wish for more positive modifiers than just oppressive, annoying ones. Like, I think you can have both, but if there is a weakness to this, I would say it's this. The other thing is farming. Farming is better here than in Onslaught. I think you get more loot more quickly. I found the potions seem to be working better. I don't know if they just don't really work with the Onslaught chests or what, but the potions do seem to be giving more drops of dedicated focus weapons here. I am just not like super compelled with the loot this season. Like, there's a couple, good drops that I'm after. I've gotten a lot of them. I know there's like this big crafting debate, but like, crafting or no, I'm just not like super inspired by this season's weapon offering. So you're farming for what exactly? It's a little hard to find the motivation other than, I'm playing for fun. It's a fun time. I like it. I just don't know. This is kind of part of a larger conversation of if you have crafting, if you don't have crafting. I think Destiny's loot chase, especially with weapons, has been a little strange and a little kind of played out for a while now, other than just inserting new perks and weapons that are straight up power creep. They're going to change this to some extent with the new kind of tiered weapon system they're introducing in Frontiers, so we kind of need to see how that works for both weapons and armor before we go down the whole, like, is Destiny loot terrible now kind of thing. That's obviously a discussion we've had in the past. I guess it's just coming up currently because we do have some pretty good activities here. I just don't really know how inspired I am to go after more than like a couple more rolls of something, and I'm probably not going to be using those as my default anyway. And then I just found the hand cannon roll, Rhyme Stealer Headstone, that I want is literally in the battle pass in like rank 119 or something. So I found that pretty funny. I guess I can go after a good Grid Skipper that just got introduced. That was a big favorite of mine back in the day. But so yeah, if there's a problem, it's like kind of the whole what am I doing this for thing, and then the modifiers. Everything else, the activity I think is great. If this does become, a quote ritual activity for Frontiers, and there is better loot to farm, and there is more interesting stuff to do and get out of it, I think that's a good thing. The season is still suffering from the extremely awful tonic system, remains fully broken on one of my characters, so I can only craft them on the other characters. And potions are very unreliable, very annoying to keep applying. I have hundreds of these at this point, and the whole system is very half-baked. But if we're talking Tomb of Elders, I'm very impressed with it. I think it's a very good activity. And if there was one thing, in this era of Destiny, I think Bungie is definitely delivering on activities. The problem last season, again, was we didn't really have that much to go after or many reasons to do the activities. I'd say they introduced straight up like 3 new strikes, essentially, last season. And you really did not have to do them more than 2 or 3 times each, and they're not in like the strike rotation pool or anything yet because they're seasonal. And this season, we have new Onslaught, we have this activity now, and there's good activities. It's just kind of a question of motivation, and that's something I don't think Destiny has fully solved yet. But I am fully giving them credit for how well these things are designed. The last dungeon was good too. Like they're really cracking with all that kind of stuff. And it's hard not to be positive about, I would say, an introduction like this. Whether this is like, oh yeah, everyone come back to the game and like it's Destiny's amazing again. Like I'm not going to say that. It's just this is a good activity. Like this is a well-designed activity. I think it was a cool way to reprise Prison of Elders in a way that does not feel copy and pasty, yet retains kind of the soul of that activity and the reasons people liked it. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.